this fixed. Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Today I want to talk about review processes, and I know that this is a topic that I've talked about a lot. Let me get my microphone plugged in here. All right, let's try this again. This YouTube new thing with the automatic starting as soon as I put it in is odd. Normally you hit go live. All right, let's try this again. Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile, and today we're going to talk about review processes. Now I know that this is something that I have discussed frequently on the channel, but I want to go over kind of the review process that I have going for me, and then discuss other review processes, that maybe you've heard about or that have been presented by other reviewers and stuff, and just see what all you think is the way to review things, and then to maybe see how you all just, when you get products in, listen and kind of review it, even if you're not doing it publicly, out on YouTube or in written reviews or whatever. So I'm going to, down in the description, there's a link to my review process if you want to follow along. And I'm going to explain things a little bit more, and then we'll get into some questions. I may pause during every different stopping point and see if there's questions. All right, so my review process, I do get asked quite often what it is. Every single video, there is a link in the description that talks about my review process. And also there is a link usually to some sort of music or things like that I use in my review processing. My review process, I did a video about 4.5 years ago, somewhere in that, maybe 5 years, and it's a very cringy video. I'm very old school video. It's not that my videos have updated a lot through the years, but it's very cringy. If you want to watch that, that is my original process. And a few things have changed from there. And then in January, I revised it into a written and sent it out on community posts and other social medias. And I actually have tweaked it slightly since then. And I'll try to explain some of the things. So I might have to go back in and revise. But there's 12 steps to my review process. Some of them are merged together, and it could be broken out into a lot more steps. But we'll try to go through this somewhat on a quickly basis. So first step is obviously you have to do research and preparation, and that's pretty much what we all do through through a given day here in the audiophile community. You're reading reviews, you're talking on Discord, you're talking on other forums, you're hearing other people's opinions, you're seeing new products introduced. Maybe you hear about a sale, or you're browsing one of the many hi-fi stores, and you're just seeing things, and you get to see what's being hyped, what's being kind of discussed, what's being made fun of, what new processes and technologies and all that's out there, and what's piquing your interest. And so every now and then on a few random forums and stuff that I kind of follow, I might put a comment, but I do not do that very often anymore at all. Pretty much the only social media that I stick to is my own, and the reason for that is it's just kind of a personal thing. There has been a lot of conflict and a lot of toxicity on other forums, a lot of other servers and things like that. Some of it pointed at me, some of it just in general, and that bothers me. I really don't care for that person, that type of character and personality, and it kind of offends me. And so I'd rather stay away from it rather than get in trouble. It's just a personal choice. But if somebody links something directly to me, if someone advises me of it, or someone directly messages me, I'll go on there. And then every now and then, some things will pique my interest, and I'll follow along. So I do watch videos on YouTube, and I do read reviews, but I do most of the reading of reviews, and I don't watch as much as I do reading on websites and things. And at this time, I try to stay away from things that I have in-house currently to do reviews of or potentially do reviews of. And also, I try to stay away from things that I know I will be getting in. So that way, I'm not kind of introducing thoughts and opinions ahead of time. I want to go into every product review with a clean head and no opinion type of thing. All right, number 2 is going to be the gear to product arrival and product departures. I get contacted by manufacturers and vendors and viewers. Viewers, not so often, but every now and then somebody has loaned gear, and I appreciate that. But most of the gear that I get is either I purchase it or it comes from a vendor or a manufacturer. And I don't really put credence into that, who it came from, when it came in, things like that. That really does not matter to me. I don't get excited if a high-end manufacturer reaches out to me. I don't really get excited if a high-end product is offered to me. It's just another product to review. It doesn't really matter where it comes from. Now, there also is the other aspect that a lot of people throw into this regard is affiliate links, vendor discounts, and things like that. I decline all offers for any sort of paid compensation. As far as monetization, I do not take any funding whatsoever from a vendor or a manufacturer or even a viewer. If somebody wants to try to bribe me by saying, hey, I'll give you $500 plus this headphone if you'll review it positively, I don't do that kind of stuff. If a vendor or a manufacturer offers me some sort of, hey, name your price, or we'll give you X amount of money to do this review, you have to do this, I decline it immediately. And in fact, I have posted several times on social media where companies have tried to reach out to me and influence my reviews. So I do not do that at all. Affiliate links are different. Affiliate links is your choice to support a reviewer. I have no control over that. If you want to choose it to purchase it through my link, cool. If you want to choose it and do it through another reviewer, let's say Zeos, cool. Help us out by supporting the channel. That's all you're doing with the affiliate link. I do not push the affiliate links. I do not push the discount code. If a manufacturer, oftentimes Effect Audio or somebody else like that, will say, hey, we'll give you your viewers a discount through this video. Cool, I'll offer it to you. I'm not going to push it though. I'm not going to say buy this because you get this. That's not me. Again, it's just something I'm going to offer to you. If you want to use it, cool, go for it. And it'll be in the description. And I may have to be required by YouTube to mention it in passing, just so that I don't get in trouble with monetization. Speaking of monetization, channels that are monetized, this again is nothing that I can control. Monetization is based off of how many views that my video gets, and also how many clicks, shares, how watch time, all that kind of stuff. The ads that you see through monetization are based on your browser history. I do not choose them. I don't choose what advertisements run on my channel. It's based off of your browser history. And so that's how monetization works. So again, I don't control it. It's based off of views. It's based off of watch time, clicking and sharing from all of you guys driving that. So that's the reason why I don't push it. If you want to watch my video, cool. If you want to share it, cool. And I'd gladly appreciate any help that you want to support the channel at. But at the same time, I'm not going to beg and plead for it. It's your choice. All right. So once a manufacturer, a vendor, or a reviewer offers a product to review, I will look at it. All of my reviews are based off of, or products I get in for review initially are based on, am I interested in it? Do I think that my viewers will be interested in it? And also, do I think that maybe this is something worthy of use? Will you all want to view it is the main goal. And so all decisions for the channel content are my own. I'm not influenced by any outside source to do a specific video or a written post. I'm also not driven to do anything particular in the video. If somebody asks me to do a positive spin on it or to talk about a particular thing, especially things that aren't really associated with the product, I'm going to decline it. Once we agree to have a product sent in, whether it be a gifted, loaned, or purchased, and by myself with the funding of my supporters' help, I will advise of the estimated length of the review process, and I'll keep the people involved throughout the timeline. I don't do this really well, and so if any of you that have sent me gear or watching, I apologize. Sometimes I get busy, and sometimes I just forget to mention, hey, this is going on. Currently, right now, for review, I am asking for 4 to 6 weeks for each individual product. Now, some products can get lumped together and be reviewed, and I'll mention that to you or to the vendor or manufacturer or lendee. Purchase products that I purchased myself with my own money and with money for that you guys have helped support the channel with, get put last. I don't want bias and purchase bias and all that kind of stuff. Plus, I want to put priority on things that are provided to me, gifted and loaned. So those are put higher priority. Number 3, unboxing. This will happen, this happens to me often. Things will get sent, I'll agree upon it, and then I'll completely forget who sent it to me, and then 6 weeks later it just shows up. Things do take a while to come here to the US, especially where I live. There's been a lot of problems with the postal service. DHL and FedEx seem to be the most reliable for me. UPS is adequate. Post office is very delayed at times. So some things come in real quick, some things take forever. And then, so once it arrives, I'll look it up. I have it, through emails or however you contact me. Some contact me directly through social medias, and others contact me, websites and things like that. I'll look up who sent me, whether it was Shenzhen, Linsol, Hi-Fi Go, Keep Hi-Fi, Appos, whomever sent it, and I'll send them an email saying, hey, I received it. Here is the time frame, that I'm thinking the review is going to be on, and I'll unbox the product. I don't do this on camera very often. I have a few times those videos have flopped, so I've kind of stopped doing it. But anyways, I'll unbox it. I take lots of pictures of the package itself. If there's any damage to it, I make note of it. And then I also make note of how everything's packed in the box. That way, if I have to return it, or if I'm going to try to sell it, or whatever, I know exactly how to pack it in and what's in it. I have had instances where I have forgot to put things in boxes back upon return. I had to ship things extra after the fact. So try to do this just to document everything, make sure everything is documented in the video review, or return it. I may post pictures on my Discord server or online of products that come in. This isn't really something that I do very much. I'm not much of a photo person. And so a lot of my unboxings will also tend to be kind of just in passing as I'm headed out the door after I've checked the mail. So this isn't really something that I do often, but I do occasionally send things out. Next up will be a first impression, first listen. Now this is usually sometime right around after unboxing, but oftentimes I'm headed out the door later in the evening, and I'll have to come back and do this. So this could be a couple days after I've opened it, and sometimes manufacturers are aware of that. I will tell them right from the get-go, hey, this is going to be a while before I can get first impressions. So I try to do it immediately as soon as I get the product, but it doesn't always work out that way. Anyways, this is usually something that takes approximately about 10 minutes. Some of them take up to an hour, just depends on how I like the product. Um, I I do all my listenings right here at this desk. I don't do them while I'm walking around doing anything else. I do want to be in my at my desk. If it's a IEM or a headphone, I will use it with my MyTech Liberty DAC and HPA, or the FIO. It's way over back there. The FIO K19. Those two are my first two choices of products that I use gear with IEMs and headphones. If it's a standalone DAC, I will connect it to the HPA. And then if it's a standalone amplifier, I will connect it to the Liberty DAC 2. And if it's a USB-C dongle, I'll use it with my phone. So that currently my phone is a Samsung S24 Ultra. And since that phone has like 6 years of updates and all that kind of stuff through Samsung and Timo, I'll probably have that phone for a while. I'm not one of those people that are changing phones all the time. So anyways, Samsung S24. With dongles, I will break out a IEM, the Westone Mach 60, and I'm going to test that dongle with that IEM. And I do have both a 4.4 balanced cable and a 3.5 cable for the Westone. So it will just depend on what connection I use. I usually default to 3.5 first. Headphones for the amplifiers will vary depending on the output impedance and things like that. But my default headphone is Audeze LCD 5. But I do also use the Austrian Audio Hi-X 60 and the Mr. Speakers Ether C quite often when first listens. So it kind of varies a little bit. IEMs usually are the Westone Mach 60, but there's also variant things. Now, obviously, if it's a IEM or headphone, it's going on to MyTech. And this is how this happens is I just plug it in and I'll get on Audiophile Studio, which is what I use as my music management. And I'll pull up my local music, my downloaded music, and I'll hit random on tracks. Whatever pops up will start playing. And then I'll just listen for a short time, usually 10 to 15 minutes. Might be a little bit shorter. If it really doesn't impress me, it might be longer if it does. Just kind of depends. I don't really take notes of first impressions. I don't write anything down. I don't make, anything posts or anything like that. Every now and then on Discord, I may, send something to one of my friends on Discord, and, just say, hey, I got this in, it's interesting, fits terrible or fits really nice. It's kind of a generic sound or this or that. I'm very, very general and simple when it comes to first impressions. I try not to get all excited and gung-ho about things. Now, obviously, I am human, and that happens every now and then. And then, again, just like at the beginning when I'm doing research, at that time, I stay away from reading and watching others' opinions of the products because I don't want to be influenced by outside sources. Now, this is interesting because I do talk to various reviewers on my Discord server and, through private DMs and things like that. And so you can ask any of them. When I'm giving impressions right at the beginning, I'm very, very general. Intuit Reviews, Hobby, Awesome Danny, or a few that I talk with on a frequent basis. And we're very generic in opinion. And we're all that way to each other because we don't want to influence each other's opinion. Number 5, burn in or break in. This is the controversial section of the review. And whether or not you agree or disagree that burn in has an effect, I do it just for consistency sake. All products, whether it's an IEM, headphone, DAC, or amp, goes through this process, and they all sit on my desk and get played roughly 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, for a week. And How it's done is I will, if it's a headphone or IEM, I'll use it with the MyTech Liberty DAC2 or HPA, depending on which one it needs. Also the K19, and I'll just play music randomly around between somewhere around 65 dB to 75 dB through them, and it'll just be random music. So whatever's in my library, all 4,700 songs or some ridiculous number, and it'll just play. And every now and then I'll go in and pop them on my ears and listen, make sure that there's no distortions, cracklings, or anything drastic has happened, and make sure that the gear is running properly. Do this every single day. Normally I'll do it while I'm working, because the same office I'm working at another desk for my day job, which is actually third shift. But anyways, working that, and so I'll just have them playing in the background. And then at the end of the week, you're somewhere 40 to about 55 hours, give or take, somewhere in that range, maybe more if I just let them play a little bit longer. If I feel like a product is not going to make a difference at all or doesn't need it, I may stop it a little bit sooner than letting it go for, all 7 days. But as long as I get 40 hours on it, I'm good with the process. If I feel like it needs more, maybe it feels just like maybe it'll change. Who knows? I just get this feeling. I'll let it keep on going a little bit longer. But a full week is about how long I go. 40 hours is always the minimum. That's the requirement. Next will be the listening process. We're halfway through it. So the listening process, after a week of burn-in has occurred, or the 40 hours has occurred, I'll start to really listen to the product. This is when I start to put it through its paces. On Audiophile and along with Tidal, I have various playlists that are kind of set up to break down the various regions of music: bass, mids, treble, more like soundstage type of stuff for acoustical music, things that are just jazz music, things that are more metal focused or heavy bass focused music, things that are classical, things that are meant for oldies type music, and it's just a bunch of playlists. And I'll sit there and I'll listen and listen and listen to these products, and it takes several weeks to go through all these different playlists and play songs. Now, not every single song gets a full listen. Not every single album gets a full listen. I may be able to listen for, half the track and skip to the next song, maybe come back to it later on, skip to a certain section of the song, things like that. But I'm really listening. This is also the same time frame in which I start to change tips and pads, maybe adjust cables, try different things. This is also where I will use EQ to kind of go, oh, I hear this or I hear that. Where is this in the ranges? I'll start to kind of tweak things. Now, I'm not tweaking it to make it sound good to me so I'll enjoy it. I'm tweaking it to determine different things that are going on in the frequency. Because I always listen and review in stock form, so un-EQ'd formats. But at the same time, I do want to know what's going on. This will normally take 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, somewhere in that time frame. And anything that I notice, okay, these tips definitely work better. They hold them in place. These pads are more comfortable. This cable makes a difference. This cable feels better, looks better. I enjoy it more, that type of thing. I'll make a note of that. So when I do the review, I will mention it back. But all reviews, as mentioned, are done in stock form as much as possible. Now, some things just don't work well in stock form. Then number 7 is the final listen and comparisons. And this is where I will really sit down and listen after I've had a solid grip of how things are sounding. So, some products don't take near as long to kind of get an idea of this is what this is. And then others take a while, because if you change gear and, listen on various things, it alters all over the place. And so you really have to make notes and understand it. Others are easier. But once I have a solid grip of the sonic capabilities of a product, I start putting together my final thoughts. And this is about a couple weeks ago, I put forth I think it's 87 song playlist. and what I'm looking for in each one of those tracks. This is when this comes into play. Now, I may have listened to these songs prior during the regular old listening, stage, but this is when it really starts coming down, and I get the meat and potatoes, and I fine tune my impressions of it. And I'm listening for various things. A lot of this is done again on the Mytek, the K19, or also the various dongles that I use for reference. And I will listen. This takes about a week or so to do, take not quite as long. And then after that, I go into the recording section of it. So once I have all of that set up, I'll do that, getting all my impressions and my ideas and things like that. I will make note of all the specs of the device and what I'm going to talk about in the review, and I print all that out on a piece of paper. And I don't really write down a whole lot of notes about sonics. I go all based off of this up here for the majority. A few things, when it's really extensive, I may write down, but most of the stuff that I have on paper is just the specs and all that kind of crap. So anyways, I'll do all that the night before or early in the morning, take a rest, sleep on it normally, wake up. And since I am a third shifter at the moment, and when I wrote this, I wasn't a third shifter, but right now I'm a third shifter. I will wake up usually 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I go to sleep immediately after work. I know third shift is weird. Some people do it differently, but I immediately go to bed, usually right around 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, and I'm in bed and I sleep. I wake up around 1. I'll get up, have a cup of coffee or two, listen to the device slightly again, just a little bit to refresh it, set everything up. So pretty much set up just like I am right here for this live stream. Maybe not as bright lighting, maybe not as many glares. Try to get it all to look, somewhat nice in the Dave the Honest Audiophile fashion. And then I'd print off my little piece of paper with the specs, tape that to the tripod of the camera. My camera is my phone, which is a Samsung S24 Ultra, and plug in my microphone, which is a Rode USB podcaster, and sit down and start talking and hit record. And I do all my reviews straight through. So I'll just talk. Now, if I immediately mess things up, get tongue-tied, or twist the words, or just absolutely, start coughing, or something along those lines, I'll start over. I'll stop it. If I'm in the review and it's going well, right, I'm like feeling good about what I'm saying and how it's going, and I feel something coming out, a sneeze or a cough, I will pause the video recording, take care of that, come back and unpause it. That's why sometimes you will see like what looks like a jump skip in the video. It's not actually a jump skip. I don't do any editing. It's me hitting the pause button in the recording. But anyways, I record all the way straight through. And normally it takes about 10 takes or so, sometimes a little bit more. And that can be really frustrating, because if it's a longer video, and my videos tend to be somewhat longer, 15, 20 minutes long. If it's longer and you mess up right at the end, guess what? You have to do it all the way over again. Or if it's funny enough and I really don't care, or I don't catch it, it might slip through. But anyways, once that's done, I rewatch the video, make sure that everything sounds good. And if it does, I'm good. And I start to upload it to YouTube. And in YouTube, after you upload, which takes forever, especially depending on how long your video is. Anyways, once you upload it, YouTube has a little process that allows you to edit things in. And when I say edit, you're adding in links, you're altering, maybe where you're going to do your monetization ads and things like that. Monetization ads, for me, I always click it off during the middle, so you only get them on the ends, beginning and ending. I hate having that in personal life where ads are just flowing throughout. I've tried it here with you guys, and you guys have kind of mentioned, hey, why so many ads? And so I try to be very cognizant of that. If I forget it, I apologize. Some videos may have that, but I do try to take them out of the middle. That way it's just straight through ads on each end. I do not do any of the alterations. I don't take 5 different recordings and mix them together. I don't splice anything together. I do links to other videos and things. You'll see them jump on the screen, you know, a little pop out, come out. Every now and then, maybe if I say something that I didn't catch in the video and I want to make sure clarification, I might write something on the screen real quick, do something like that. I do very, very small editing. I don't do any picture in cuts, any overlays, you know, camera things. I'm very simple, and it's time consuming enough just to do it through the YouTube tools. I can't imagine how much time is spent doing all the other editing. And so, and I don't have the money to pay a professional editor, and I really don't care. So anyways, that's when that all happens. Usually takes about an hour, hour and a half for all that to happen. Some videos take longer to process than that. Then I put it up. Patreon YouTube members, again, if you're a Patreon member or a YouTube member, I apologize. I don't give you a whole lot of time to watch things in advance. I'm terrible when this comes to this sort of stuff. I appreciate your support, and I really wish that I could get things recorded weeks in advance and then let you, you know, have your time with them. But I do try to give you at least 24 hours. Oftentimes it doesn't quite end up being a full day's advance notice, but you do get a little bit of notice ahead of time. And also, if you're on my Discord server, you may get some advance notice on it, especially if you've been nice to me and you've buttered me up for the week, or you have questions regarding that product and maybe we have discussed it leading up to it. I may send you the video early for access. And the only thing that I ask for that is that they don't share it publicly. And then the next morning, usually lately it's been Wednesdays and Fridays and you know, a few other days, I will release the video publicly. I try to get it out by about 6 a.m. Eastern time, 6 and 7 a.m. Eastern time before I go to bed. Every now and then I'm excited about the video, or I'm just curious what what you all think about it. So I will release it a little bit earlier. But I try to do 6 a.m. That way the West Coasters and the Pacificers and, you know, all that are not getting it the day ahead, you know, things like that, because you have the time zone. So I try to make it so that everybody gets it on the same day. Hopefully it works. And then step number 11 is responding to comments, reading and watching reviews and opinions. So by this time the video is public, and I'll go out, and when I wake up the next day after the video goes public, I'll read the comments from you all, respond immediately. I try to respond to everything. Sometimes some comments just, they don't warrant a full response. They might just give a thumbs up and a smile of appreciation type of reaction. But I do try to respond to all of the comments and give my thoughts and opinions, read your guys' comparisons and thoughts type of thing. And then also I will go and read reviews of the product, maybe watch some videos of it if I haven't already done that, because, you know, it's an older product or something, and see what the opinion is of it. And then, you know, I'm not doing this to be like mine's better, or, you know, wow, can't believe they say that. What, you know, I don't do it to judge. I do it just to be kind of knowledgeable about what the community is thinking about this product and what other reviewers are thinking about it. Just curiosity kills the cat. And then after that, I will also send out notification to the vendor. Sometimes I do this prior to it going public. Sometimes I'll do it as it goes public. I'll send out to the vendor, the manufacturer, whoever sent it to me, and say, hey, it's going public. Here's the link. I really appreciate that. If it's kind of a more negatively sour type of review, I will, you know, say, hey, I'm sorry, this one didn't jive with me. Here is what happened. I still want to work with you all. I still want to review other products. You know, I appreciate you sending this to me, but it just didn't work out this time. And so let's try this, you know, or, hey, do you have these other ones in for, can I review these products, things like that. You know, I try to, you know, be nice about it. I'm not just going to, your thing sucks and I'm never going to review your products again. I don't want to be that way. I want to be polite and nice. And, you know, just because I don't like something doesn't mean somebody else won't like it. And, you know, negative reviews, or a more non-positive, a suboptimal review or an optimal review, they're all useful. And manufacturers, vendors, and other people, getting an alternate opinion can be beneficial, and as long as it's done in a polite way. And so, anyways, that's when I'll talk about that. Send them the link. I do not send them stuff to do an early release preview, and then I go and alter things. That is not anything that I've ever done. Um, I'm not going to be influenced in that way. I do not take videos down because a manufacturer or a vendor asks me to. I take it down because I choose to. If I haven't, I've only taken down a couple of videos. One of them, the comments just got so toxic. And it was just, okay, my points are crossed. And this has been out now for a couple of years. Let's take this down because I don't like reading all of these negative, toxic comments coming through. And another one was I actually had, I think that was the only video I've taken down. Well, I took another one down because it was my early promo of back when I was DBS Tech Talk, and it was so cringe worthy that and it didn't really apply to what the video was. It was intended to be a channel trailer, and it was just awful. And I was going to remake it, and I haven't gotten around to remaking it yet. So, anyways, I don't take videos down. I don't, do anything of that sort. After I send things to the vendor, I'm like, here you go. Here's public. When do you want it back? Oftentimes, vendors have told me through passing, because I've reviewed 50, 100 of their products. Just keep our stuff. Don't return it. And then others, it's kind of on a one-on-one basis, so you never really know. And then others, you're going to have to return it. So I'll just be like, send me the return label, or where do you want me to ship it next? And we go from there. And we move on to the next product to review. Now, a couple of clarifications. While all this is going on, I'm also listening to other products and reviewing them. So I have a lot of different things going in and out of my ears and playing music. Usually I'll be about 2 to 3 reviews ahead while it's all kind of working together. So it can get a little confusing. A couple other things. I work a full-time job. I work a 40-hour work week. I work third shift. So I go into work at 10 p.m. Eastern. I get off at 6:30 Eastern in the morning. And then I sleep, for roughly about 6 hours a day. My wife works also. She's a school teacher. And then we also have things at church. So I'm very busy in my schedules. There's other things going on. And so it can be difficult to cram everything all together and combine it. My job does not allow me to sit and listen to music while I'm working. I have to have a work headset on with incoming phone calls and all kinds of other things going on. So I cannot sit and listen to music while I'm working. I can't even have it on in the background on speakers. So my time to listen to gear is very, very limited. Also, I do not like to sit around and take time away from my family, from my wife, from my church, to listen to music. So I try to schedule it in when I'm home alone, and things like that. Now every now and then I'll beg my wife, hey, let me listen to music for a while, and she's quite good at it, at allowing that. But I don't want to do that all the time. So reviewing is a time-consuming thing, and can be quite difficult to arrange. So anyways, there you go. There's my 12 steps. If you're interested in any of my music links or anything like that, I can send them out to you. If you want to know more, go ahead and read the document, and as mentioned, it's always listed in. All right, let's read some comments here. Thank you very much, everybody, for showing up and putting up with me rambling. But hopefully that clarifies my review process a little bit. All right, Daniel, hello, Daniel. Let's see. Is it Lohith? Hi, I'm using the Truthier Hexa. It lacks spatial depth, doesn't keep you immersive experience. What do you recommend next? By the way, I have medium size ears. Hexa doesn't fit well. Well, Hexa is a neutral IEM, and I mean, it has decent spatial awareness for its price point. I wouldn't say that it's, the best at that for sure. Size wise, I actually don't have a problem with the Hexa. Trying to think of something that would be a little bit more spatially aware but smaller than the Hexa. This will take a moment. Now, do you have the same budget as the Hexa, or can we go up in price? Because what is the Hexa? Hexa comes in roughly what, $80, I think. Size wise, it got me a little. Confused. Get back with me on that in the comments. Same budget, price range as a Hexa, or something a little bit higher? And do you want the size to be smaller than the Hexa, or just a different design of the Hexa? If you could clarify that. All right, so Control. Hi, Dave. Hi, all. Yes. Hi, all. Thank you for coming. Let's see, pause. Greetings, Dave. I hope you and your family are doing well. Glad to catch you live again. I'm glad that you were able to come by and swing by and catch me live. Hopefully, hopefully you're doing well. Our family's doing well. My wife and I are busy. My wife is getting ready to finish school for the year. I think she has 1 week left, so she's excited about that. But it's a really busy time for school teachers here, and she's trying to get her room arranged, and of course cram all sorts of stuff into the schedule for the summer. But we're doing good. All right, let's see here. Fred, good afternoon, Honest Dave. Thank you for providing insights on your process. You're welcome. Hopefully you found it helpful and useful, and maybe explains things a little bit better as far as how I do it, why it takes a little bit longer. I know that there's a lot of other processes out there, and I'm not going to say that my review is my review process is the only process that should be done. That's not me, and that's not the goal of this live stream. But I'm just curious, have any of you heard about what the review processes are of other reviewers? Have other reviewers come out and said, this is how I review things? I can't really think of too many videos like that, especially in the IEM headphone world. Speaker world, I think that's a little bit more common for reviewers to do. So if you're aware of other processes now, and I know that some of them will, obviously they'll measure the device, and they'll incorporate that in, or they'll do their own EQs and then upload their EQs for you all to enjoy, things like that. And I'm not, besmirching any of that. And as mentioned, measurements are tools. And it's a guideline, but it's not the end all be all of how a product sounds. Measurements don't tell the entire story, and EQ doesn't fix all things. And EQ, you should not, in my opinion, you should not review based off of the graphs and measurements only, and also you should not review based off of the final product after you've EQ'd it. A product should be reviewed how it performs out of the box, as much as possible, and then make note of the tweaks that you made with it, whether it be with a cable or a tip, head strap, fixing, or anything of that sort. Also based on what sources you use with it. If you review something based on, oh, hey, I tweaked this and fixed this and EQ'd it, and now this thing is the greatest thing ever, you're misleading. You're not telling exactly how the product performs outside the box. And then if you're basing your opinion off of the graph, you're not using your ears properly. You should be using your ears and then go into the graph and being like, oh, hey, this works here, this works here, this explains a few things, this. You use the tool, you use the graph as a tool, don't use it as a guide. All right, let's see. Fred says that I'm the only one that you know of. That's interesting, and that's kind of sad. I think that it would be wise to for reviewers to come out and be like, "This is how we review things," because it's going to help you, the viewer, understand them better. It's going to help them help you to see this is why it takes so long, or wow, you only take X amount of minutes to do a review. Why not put a little bit more time into it? Why are you pumping things out hourly? It seems like some of them are. Um, let's see, Lori, I haven't purchased any new IEMs in at least a year. In my opinion, there comes a point when you have to stop. Yeah, I haven't felt any earth-shattering improvements. Am I imagining this? No, actually, you're not. Yes, there is a point where it just comes to I need to stop. I mean, we're chasing a unicorn here that is really not existent. There's especially when if your budget doesn't allow to expand into massive world, you might not experience different things. And this isn't to say super expensive is going to bring in something totally different or better. But oftentimes what happens, and especially in the IEM world, is price points tend to produce the same products with just different names on them, maybe a little bit different build, and they tend to sound very similar, or you get one or two different types within that price point. And so you just kind of have to stop and let things catch up and change, or maybe experience something, be willing to, spend a little more or a little less. But yeah, you can spend a ton of money without really hearing any differences for sure. Totally agree with that. And then as far as IEMs not being really any different, yeah, that's been a problem for a while. I was having a conversation with somebody about that. I think it might have been Intuit reviews recently of how things are just kind of sounding the same. And as a reviewer, you just kind of get bored of it and sick of it, and you just don't want to review them. You just yeah, that's just another, hybrid single DD, 3BA, 4BA, and it sounds just like this one, and this one, type of thing. So when a product comes along, like you look at, like, for example, the Katori Zephyr, or you look at the Tantrum Origin, a couple IEMs in these different price points that kind of stand out away from the usual typical sound signatures and those price points. You make note of that as a reviewer, and try to hold on to those a little bit more. All right, let's see. Dragnet, do you take prayer requests? I take prayer requests at church and from friends. I do not do it on YouTube. So if you have a prayer request, send me a private message. Fred, when it comes to IEMs, are you able to go into which equipment is the most important percentage-wise? For example, IEMs 50% ear tips, 10%, etc. In your opinion? I don't like putting percentages on things. This is something that I haven't really ever done, even in life. No matter what I'm talking about, this is 10% of this. This is X amount of this. They do impact. They do make differences. They do make change. But I'm not going to guesstimate a percentage overall. It's just something that I personally don't. Things like that. That's just me. I'd rather have a particular number, that's solidified, but is that number really possible to obtain? But when doing my reviews, I take into consideration all of the experience. Does it fit well? Was I able to use the stock accessories? How does it perform, in the bass, in the mids, in the treble, in the technicalities, that type of thing? Does it put a smile on my face? Do I get grumpy when I have to think about reviewing it? Which does happen. So I'm like, do I have to really do this? I don't want to review this one. This one is driving me nuts. That type of thing. What kind of reaction does it give me? All of that goes into consideration when I'm doing my gear ranking. For example, hopefully that answered your question. Dragnet, send it through Instagram. Okay, I'll check afterwards. Fred, you're welcome. Hopefully that helps. There's so many different, like, I know that there's a lot of gear rankings out there from different reviewers. It seems like every reviewer has one, which you should as a reviewer, in my opinion. But we all it's either you do it with the critical way, which there's nothing wrong with doing that. You have S tier, A tier, B, all that, or you do it with your own tweaks. Mine is definitely my own tweak. Mine is very much different than everybody else's, and I'll admit that. But oftentimes, something that I find interesting is in those gear rankings is they will say it's this, this, and this. And they'll put percentages or letters to give it a grade in these areas, and I just, to me, that doesn't mean anything. That's not telling me how it sounds. So I'd rather you listen to my review and then look at my grade and go, oh, he liked it, or wow, he hated it. Like he gave that an A for awful. And yes, one of my most recent reviews got an A for awful. Don't give out Fs for flawless very often. Also, one thing of note for me is on my gear rankings, if you're ever interested in how I obtained a product, it's listed, whether it's gifted, purchased, or loaned. Loaned obviously means I had to return it. Gifted means I get to keep it. And purchased means I purchased it. So, and then the gear rankings are very simple. So you have the general rankings of A through F. So A is for awful, B is for bad, C is for capable, D is for delicious, E is for excellent, and F is for flawless. And then just like you get a grade in your class, like back in school, you'll get an A minus or an A plus or just a straight up A. It works that way. So if it's just the letter A, B, C, D, E, or F, it's right in the middle of that category. If it's an A plus, it's a little bit better. This is top tier in that ranking grade, right? And if it's a minus, it's good enough to not be on the next letter down, but it's slightly better than those other ones in there. And that, keep in mind, that whole grade is based on the entire experience from the moment it arrives to the moment it leaves or to the moment the review is done. How was the unboxing experience? How are the accessories? Did it put a smile on my face or a frown on my face? How's it sound? How's it fit? Do I enjoy using it? Would I use it again? All that kind of stuff is based on the grade. It's not based on solely just how it sounds. So anyways, so if I review something and I list it as A for awful, A minus would be the worst of the worst, and A plus would be, this is not very good. So anyways, there you go. All right, let's see. What DAC dongles would you work well with the Meze 105s or the 5 AER? Here. You say $500. Do you want a dongle that's $500? Or because the headphone's $500. I'm trying to think. 105. You're gonna need something with some power to it. You're probably gonna want something that has a more neutral presentation, not something that's super warm. Sansei Miori, the SA500 has quite a bit of power to it. If you really want to spend $500, of course, you could do the Aiko. What was the model number of that? The $500 dongle from Aiko. Hang on. The ITM07. That thing, as expensive as it is, and as much as it doesn't have any of the extras, it does sound really good. But it's just super expensive. And then you could go with, I would recommend anything that has more than about something over 150 milliwatts balanced. You're gonna want balanced 4.4 probably to use the 105 ARs with a dongle. Good question though. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so Fred asks, if someone was starting out in the hobby, do you think that the ear tips impact the IEM, or is it the dongles or the DAP? So it kind of actually is a little bit of everything mixed together. So take your IEM, all right? Let's say you purchase the Katori Zephyr. All right, now it's a big IEM. It's got some nice ergonomics to it, but it's bigger, so it might not fit everybody's ears quite properly. Now, it fits mine like a glove. Their stock tips are okay. And but if you alter the stock tips on the Zephyr, it does change the sound slightly. You can get a little bit more air by using wide bore tips, and you can also get a little bit more of a warmer bassier sound by using narrower bore tips. Also, depending on the length of the tip, also makes a difference of how it fit in the ear. But on top of that, so once you get your ear tip and you go, okay, I like this sound. This fits me, this is comfortable, and I enjoy how this sounds. If you change your source, you go to a different dongle, right? And you get something that's really warm, all of a sudden, maybe the Zephyr will become really warm sounding. And you're like, I don't like the sound. So then you have to go and change your tip again and maybe take out that warmth, or you can get a different dongle. So they all kind of impact each other and change it around, which is why I talk about synergy of sound. And you just have to find what sounds good for you with the gear that you have, and you play around with it. And that's why I talk about that a lot in my reviews about what different gear works with things. Some gear is more sensitive to changing via tips and sources than others. Some of it doesn't really seem to matter near as much. So it's just kind of, I don't really think one impacts more than the other. I think it's just kind of based on the experience of what you have, fixing it together and synergying it. I go through a lot of tips. There's a lot, especially in budget IEMs. I find this to be me going through. I have a, where's it? Now, this isn't all the tips. These are my more common tips that I use. Shout out to awesome Danny for hooking me up with this. But anyways, so tips. This little thing gets pulled out all the time, and with budget stuff, because a lot of them will just throw in 3 generic, small, medium, and large tip, usually in the olive grape shape, and they just don't work. Either it won't fit in the ears, or they just don't sound very good. And so out comes my grouping of tips, and I'll start popping them in and seeing what works. Also, dongles or DAPs, desktops, whatever you're using. I have different sounds up here on my desk, and also in my big, huge amount of dongles. Some of them are warm, some of them are extremely neutral, some are very sterile sounding, some of them kind of in between. And so you just kind of have to play around and see what sounds good. You'll also, as you experience things, if you have the ability to have multiple devices, you'll kind of learn what you like and don't like. So when you hear an explanation of a review, you go, okay, he says that that's like bloated bass, this, and this. I know I don't like that. And I'm going to shy away from that. That doesn't work with me. Or, oh, I like a lot of mid bass, things. Um, and that goes back to other things that I've talked about in the past, where you have to get to know your reviewer. You have to understand how they explain things, what they prefer, and what's their baseline and benchmark for products. And I try to explain that as best as possible. Hopefully that helps. Good question though. All right, so I did tell my wife today that we're going to take a few extra minutes of length and expand out, because I knew that my going over my review process was going to take a little bit of time. So if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. If you have ideas about how things should be reviewed, maybe you have a preference, maybe you prefer that the reviewer mentions their songs that they listen to in the review and explains this song sounds like this, this, and this with this device, or vice versa. Or if you prefer measurements, or if you prefer lots of pictures, if you think that review should be done a certain way, let me know in the comments. I'm very curious about this. I want to know what all you're looking for when it comes to a reviewer and their process. Or does it even matter? Is it, do you even care how they come to the conclusion that they come to? Are you curious about how they came to that conclusion? That sort of thing. So today, I'm drinking cherry lemonade, and I haven't even had coffee yet today. So I woke up at about 12:15, took a quick shower, um, said hello to the wife, and came in here and started setting up for the live stream. So I haven't even had coffee yet, but I did make a cherry lemonade for the day. So in case you guys are wondering, I know that I used to get questions, well, I haven't seen any in a while, about what coffee I'm drinking. And today's not coffee. It's actually cherry lemonade. Also, while we're waiting for some questions and stuff to come around, Wednesday, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I strained my quad really bad. So I was having one of those moments as a 49-year-old. I was having one of those moments of, hey, I can play the games with the teenagers during youth group. And so I was out there running around, and we were playing what's called human foosball. I don't know if you guys have ever played human foosball, but basically it's like a foosball table, but with humans, and you have a soccer ball, and I was stretching to reach the ball, and my body said, you can't do that anymore. Plus, you didn't stretch before the game. So, and I ended up straining my quad, and oh my word, that's painful. I was limping around pretty good. Thankfully, it's kind of loosening up and recovering a little bit, but I don't recommend doing that. Anyways, that was just something that came to mind. All right, so let's see here. Lori. Seems that it doesn't matter how much equipment you have for testing when something is so bad, aka, i.e., the Rosalsa Distant Mountain. Yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. So the Rosalsa Distant Mountain is just one of those products that, even with all the different sounding gear, the different DACs and amps, dongles, DAPs that I tested on, I even tried a different cable, it really just never got it together. Did it improve on a few things in certain ways, like some of the more warm, as mentioned in the video, some of the warmer sounding stuff kind of added in a little bit of body and tamed down those uppers, but it was just so egregious in that 2 to 8K regions that it was just terrible. And just forward, no matter what, you could tame it slightly, but it was really bad. So sometimes gear, you just cannot find a happy medium with gear. Other things you can really hear significant improvements. It is kind of crazy how some gear works in that regard. But yeah, the Distant Mountain, I'm really surprised. So I know that a lot of the more popular reviewers on YouTube have for the most part said, don't get this. But a lot of written reviews and a lot of stuff on Headfi and a lot of the other website reviews have promoted it, have said, this thing's good. It's retro. It's this, it's that. It sounds good. It is this. But there are some things on YouTube that are negative. And it's not one of those IEMs or headphones that is love it or hate it type thing. This is more of this has a different feeling to it, like a whole different. Some really want it to be good and really want to hype it, and then others don't. And I just was like, why is this thing being hyped? It's not worth it. It's not good at all. Okay, so let's see. Control. Hi, Dave. I'm at an impasse choosing between the Aria Stealth and the Meze 109 Pro. I know you reviewed both quite favorably, but push comes to shove. Which do you prefer, and perhaps why? I would go with the Aria Stealth. So the 109 is a little source picky on things, and it can have a little much excitement. The Aria Stealth is more detailed, better resolving, and it has a nicer soundstage and is more accurate with its imaging placement. I would go with the Aria Stealth, but it is a little bit. It takes a little bit more to drive it, so make sure that you have a balanced amplifier. That 109 is a little bit more welcoming to lesser powered gear, I guess would be how I'd phrase that. Okay, so Fred, thank you. I'm curious. I love the way you go about your process. I listen to Steely Dan, awesome. The Police, very good. Quincy Jones, excellent. There are only a few that shared music tastes more interested in the gear. I totally understand that. See, and for me, I'm that way also. So reviews that, like, you see this a lot, especially in written reviews, where they'll list like 10 songs, and then they'll be like, this song, the bass does this, the mids do this, the drip, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, who cares? That I don't. For one, I've probably never heard of the song. Two, or it's a terrible song that they use as reference, in my opinion. And so you're just kind of like, just tell me how it sounds and let me go listen to it. Let me, determine. I'm more concerned about the performance of it, not performance based on each individual song. Now, if I'm sitting with you, right, if we're in the same room, we're side by side into it, and I did this when we went to Oxpona a few years ago, that you sit and you listen to a song and you go, hey, check out this song, it does this and this, and you listen to it. It's different when you're in person, but when you're at a review and you're reading it or watching it, I don't want, just tell me how it sounds. That's all I care about. All right. Vishu, hey Dave, have you heard the JBL 360 Mark IIs? What are your thoughts about it? If you have some thoughts. I actually haven't heard JBL's 360s. Not that I am aware. If I did hear them, maybe it was in passing at an audio show or something. I haven't had them here in house. Speaker wise, I'm very limited, so sorry about that. Control, perfect. That tells me exactly what I was hoping to know. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad that you found that information helpful. If you happen to get an Aria Stealth, I look forward to hearing your impressions of it. Freddie, do you ever involve your family in the reviewing process? Does anyone in your church have the same interest in the hobby? Well, so it's interesting. So my wife is very musically inclined, right? She can play the piano, clarinet, flute, saxophone. She's learned violin, and she plays all the time here in the house, right? If I take gear to her, hey, check this out. Usually it's, well, this looks really cool. It doesn't fit me very well, and she'll listen to it. And normally the responses I'll get is, sounds good, or, ooh, that doesn't sound very good. She's not really interested in gear. Now, she doesn't like IEMs much. She does like headphones better. And amazingly, all this stuff around me, I can't get her beyond using Bose headphones. I guess I'm a failure. But you know, she loves her music, and we do have a very significant difference in music preferences as well. But yeah, she really doesn't have an interest in it. She'll go along if I listen to her, but she doesn't want to sit and listen. At church, there are a couple of teenagers that have some interest in it. I'm kind of, coaching them along a little bit. The one gentleman that helps me in the sound booth has some interest in it a little bit, not like as extreme as me. And I've passed some stuff along for him to try. And then my pastor actually is more interested in it. He likes to hear things, and he can hear differences. He's got a pretty decent ear, and so over the time that we've gotten to know each other, he's only been at church about 6 months, maybe 7 months. So we've kind of grown and bonded in that regard a little bit, and given him some gear to listen to. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of people around me that are involved in it. Now, the gentleman that came and worked on the soundboard and replaced it and helped us get electrical issues fixed, he's very much more into the sound than I am. And we are able to talk and understand each other and enjoy discussing gear. He's more of a speaker person than I am, but every now and then. All right, let's see here. Paul asks, Indy 500 next weekend. Have you gone before or want to? I did go a couple of years ago. Thank you to one of the viewers here on the channel. He actually gave me some tickets, so I really appreciate that. It was enjoyable. I had fun. It was quite the experience. Cars whizzing by 200 plus miles an hour. You can just feel the seats rumbling. 250,000 people packed in. It's amazing. It's an experience to have. I would love to go again if the opportunity came. Fred, have you experienced the Timsock TS316? Is that the planar headphone? I haven't heard any Timsock gear. I remember something about Timsock about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, where there was, I think it was a planar headphone. That was all the rage. I think people really liked it a lot. I haven't heard anything about it since. Good question. I do like open wheel racing though. Paul, you mentioned that. I mean, pretty decent sized fan of IndyCar. I like F1, and also like endurance racing a lot. NASCAR's okay, but I also enjoy road racing. Like British stock cars and things like that. Fred, you're welcome. Any other questions, comments, anything like that? Next thing up for review, some people have mentioned, have asked that in the past. The next thing up for review is actually going to be a Fosse Audio Case 7. It's right back here, actually, right here. And they claim it's a gaming deck amp. We'll see about that. Isle of Man TT is your favorite race. So I like motorcycles. I don't own one. And my wife definitely wouldn't let me own one. But my dad, when I was growing up, had Honda Gold Wings and several other cruisers. And I used to take trips with them and ride around. I never really learned how to ride a motorcycle when I was younger. but I do enjoy writing on them, and I think they're really cool to look at. And I would love to have an old classic Triumph or an Indian of some sort. Just think they're awesome. But the Isle of Man TT would be fun to go to and experience. Extremely dangerous. I The insane speeds that those guys go around on those narrow streets. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Let's see. Vishu, I'm using the HD 560s and the FIO K11 R2R. Thanks for your suggestions. Great. I'm glad that you enjoyed them. Help to anchor in on them. Also, a question about how would the K11 R2R RCA line out the studio monitor sound? So active speakers probably would work better. You would have to use some sort of speaker amp going in because it's only a preamp. It works fairly well. Now it depends on your active speaker if they have EQ or not. So you'd have to kind of work and balance that. Normally, what I do when I'm using something like the K11 R2R as a preamp, I will go to about 90%, 85, 90% on the K11, and then use the volume of my active speakers and then tweak the sound. You're not really going to notice as much of a difference depending on your speaker. With the NOS on or NOS off type of thing, you might notice a little bit of clarity difference, but it's not going to be as significant as it will be with the headphone output. But it does work that way. Fred, any thoughts about the Ibosso DC Elite? Haven't heard it. It looks really cool. Expensive. Okay, we'll be using the RCA out to TRS connection on balance. I mean, you'll be fine in that regard. There's nothing wrong with mixing and matching in that regard. I'm just not sure if you will hear the difference as much between R2R and not and NOS and not as you would with the headphone output. But again, it depending on what speakers you're using. Now, I did notice, I think I mentioned this in the review, going out to like a very neutral amplifier. I did notice that difference there. So your speakers can do it. It just might not be as noticeable. Also, you can change that volume output. If your speakers aren't distorting, if it takes it, you could push that volume out a little bit more. But I tend to put it about 85, 90%. I don't tend to go to 100, as a lot of those will start to distort at max volume. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Got about 15 more minutes left. And thanks for everybody who has jumped in later. And hopefully you'll go back through and watch the beginning of it for about the first 35 minutes or so, discuss my review process. And if you have any thoughts about reviewing processes, does it matter to you or not? Think reviews should be done certain ways, that type of stuff. Drop it down in the comments here and let's chat about it. Or if you want to just browse my review process, down in the description is a link to it on my website. Or you can just go to the website, honestaudiophile.com. The JBL 306s, our monitors will come in this Monday. Awesome. Let me look those up. Now, if you give them in white, that would be awesome. All right, JBL 306 MK2. Oh, they only come in black. That's a bummer. Oh, wait, no. You can get them in silver. Nice looking. Yeah, you should be okay on those. I think you might notice more of a difference. Again, I haven't heard them, but I would think that they would be, since they're set up as a studio monitor, they may be a little bit more clean, um, and not trying to influence. Excuse me. Hey, just another thing. If you haven't already and you're enjoying the video, don't forget to give a thumbs up to it. That'd be greatly appreciated. I understand if you have to do the old thumbs down, but hopefully you don't have to. Yeah, there are white ones. I did see that. I didn't think that there was, but it looks like there's silver and white, so that's cool. I don't know if the silver ones are special edition, though. I don't see them anywhere else. Huh. Yeah, those are nice looking. Might have to check those out. Anyways. Yeah, I'm not very well versed. There we go. I'm not very well versed in speakers, though, unfortunately. I think I own, let's see, I own the Contus, MM5Rs, Morphdell D310, Sony CES, whatever they're called, and then the Martin Logans. Hardy, what's the topic? It's listed in the video description. We're talking about review processes. Does it really matter? So for the first part of the video, I talked about how I do my reviews and why they take so long and that type of thing, and just kind of went into detail about the different steps that I do. And then we've been kind of answering questions about various audio stuff, and also discussing how other reviewers do reviews, if they've made it public and made it known. Should they make it known? Should certain things be included or not included? Why don't I include that type of thing? So when I read reviews or watch them, my main goal is to learn about the product. And also I want to know, how did you come to that conclusion? And so a lot of times there's just a whole lot of information that really doesn't apply. Now, if it's written review, I can just kind of scroll through until I get, okay, I really am not going to use the trigger, or I'm not going to use this device, or I'm not, this part of it. Scroll. Okay, now I'm talking about that. I don't immediately jump to sound impressions, though. So I will, especially IEMs and headphones, I pay attention to comfort. I pay attention to their complaints about like the fit and the design of them. Do they, put a lot of pain and suffering on your ears? And then also I do prefer to know what size ear you have. I don't need to have like the measurement of your ear, but at least a shot of how it fits in your ear. That way I kind of can know, okay, it covers his ear completely, or, snugs in. They look like they have smaller ears or larger ears, that type of thing. And another thing that's kind of, is, which way do you prefer? Do you like a tighter clamp? Do you like, things like that? And then I will also look at what source gear you're using. And I don't like it when they describe the music itself, like this song specifically sounds this way, this way, this way. But I do want to know what kind of genres of music you listen to. So like, if, for example, if you only listen to metal music and hard rock, and you're reviewing a very neutral IEM, that will tell me a few things. Or if you listen to classical and jazz music only, or you only this and this, and you're listening to a very bassy, IEM made specifically for like metal, some indicators are going to go off. So I'm curious about it. I don't need to know exactly how it sounds with each individual song, but I kind of need to know at least what kind of music you listen to. And then I want to hear your sound impressions, because I really care about how it performs. But I want to know what you think about your terms. So like, terms can be used in a very broad way. Some people will throw things out. This sounds very natural, and they don't explain what they mean by that, or this sounds very neutral, or this sounds this, and this. Well, I actually explain it in the terms. So I need to know what you mean by using that term, and then I can get an idea. That's kind of what I'm looking for in a review. Just checking. It's still going. Matters massively. Yes, totally agree. Heartway says, doing this week to week is subject to mood and circumstances as any listening session, and being able to work with that is viable. And totally agree. It's incredible. And I mentioned this in passing. Some gear, you have to get a review done. You're like, man, I have to get this review done, and this thing just, I don't like it. And so you just kind of begrudgingly pick it up and put it in your ears, and you have to be able, as a reviewer, turn that off and go, I can't let that impact my opinion. I have to listen to this and critique this in an open-minded way, no matter how frustrating this thing is, how painful it is. And so, and then other times you're tired, you haven't had your coffee yet. Maybe you've been sick, or you have this or that going on. You're busy, with the other things in life. Maybe you're getting stressed out at work, or, things like that can definitely impact your opinion. And oftentimes I find myself going, okay, I was planning on reviewing this week. I need to take a little bit extra time. Take a breath and step back and maybe review something else. And then there's other things which I can't wait to get the review done on. So yeah, that definitely can make a difference. Let's see. I have not heard of Verm 2 yet. Not sure if I'm going to get one sent to me or not. It's not something that I'm truly exploring. I would love to hear one, but I'm not like going out and searching one. Fred, do you think sound signatures help in the description of sets? U shape, V shape, W shape? Yeah, to a degree. I think now if you're like set on it, and using it to explain it, I think there's it's a tool. It's kind of like using measurements. It's kind of using graphs and things like that. It's helpful to describe it, but then, as mentioned just a moment ago, the terms are also kind of screwy. Some people will say this is U-shaped when it's not even a U-shape, because they don't really understand how things are shaped or look, or they'll be like, this is mild, this is this. Well, it might be mild to one person, it might be extreme to another. For example, we have a Thai restaurant here in town, and you can get your spice in different levels, right? So you walk in there and you'll be like, hey, can I have this mild? And to me, because I'm sensitive to spice, mild is like super spicy. And to my friend, mild could be bland. So what is mild? That type of thing. Okay, so Loith, going back to the Hexa, you need something that's a little bit smaller than the Hexa, priced a little bit higher. Ambient music, it doesn't give you depth. Please suggest. Okay, so getting back to the Hexa, size-wise, it's pretty small, in my opinion. Now, we just talked about subjectivity. Mild to one, it's small. Smaller than the Hexa. Okay, so first let's look up price, because I have to remember. I can't remember exactly the truthier price. So okay, $80. So let's go up to 100. Size wise. Okay, this is going to be difficult. And then we're looking at having a better soundstage than Hexa. All right, so you have Zygot Sino, which is smaller, but I wouldn't say it has a better soundstage than the Hexa. Aria 2, that's bigger. Let's see. You could go, no, I mean, it's going to be the same size. Titan S2. Dauntless is bigger. Okay, here you go. Tantrum for you. The Tantrum for you, for, and then U as umbrella. That would probably be one that it has filters on it that it's got this little like screw and you kind of screw it. It has depth in it. I wouldn't say that it's going to be deeper, more immersive in some of the settings. But size wise and fit wise might be better for you, which will give you a better seal and may give you a little bit more of a feeling of depth and immersion. I would try the for you. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Heartway. I like individual songs discussed since that can tell you what kind of element people are listening to and thus prioritizing. Two people can prefer the same song with entirely different sounds. Well, yeah, I agree with you on that. I just don't like that being incorporated into a review. I just don't follow reviews that way. My brain goes, and I'm dead serious. The majority of songs that are listed in those type of reviews, I've never heard of the artist or the song, and I've heard of a lot of stuff. And if I haven't heard of those songs or I can't find them anywhere, it's pointless. And so that's the reason why I prefer just give me a list of songs and I can go and look for it. And that's the reason why in all my videos and my reviews I put a link to my music preference list. I'm not saying that reviewers that do that is wrong. That's just my preference. So I get what you're saying. I've never cared for reviews that way. But to each their own in that regard. So I'm not going to say one way is the right way or the wrong way. Okay, so, but I totally understand where you come from. Let's see. Pantera Gaming, planar IAMs getting bigger drivers. Do you think IAMs are the future? They're much easier to drive and cheaper. So, this is interesting because IEMs definitely are making an improvement. Now, I wouldn't say planars are the only way to go. There are some really good hybrids that are coming out. And there's also some single DD and BA, all BAs that do a really good job. So they all have different abilities. And I think that they've all made improvement. Planars definitely have a particular technical capability to them that other IEMs haven't been able to quite obtain in certain aspects. So I get that. But I'm not just going to say, excuse me, planars are the best, but we'll use them as the example. Now, as you go bigger in planar, the shell's going to get bigger. I mean, that's just, the way of the beast, unfortunately. So if you're going to make an IEM with a bigger driver, more capable drivers, your shells are probably going to get bigger and heavier in a lot of regards. So they're going to have to do some work in that regard as far as manufacturers go. Are IEMs the future? IEMs are really good for a lot of things. I enjoy them for gaming more than headphones because they're smaller and more comfortable, in my opinion. But headphones do things differently that IEMs can't. Just like speakers do different things that headphones and IEMs can't. So they all have their benefits and they all have their pros and cons. But I think IEMs are going to become more popular than they are, especially in the gaming world. All right, let's see. Dave, I noticed some pretty severe perceived reflections and boominess from the 3020 eyes off my desk. I have them on 15-degree tilted still stands with rubber feet, but it doesn't seem to be enough, Contrail says. So, that's interesting. I'm curious. Do you have a window? Do you have a curtain in the window? How tall are the ceilings? Do you have wood floor? Is there a lot of other things on your desk? Because a lot of that can soak up sound also. Plus, also, if you have any sort of, foam, like mine's not really sound dampening in any way. It's more for just looks back in the day when I thought it looked cool. But everything around you will soak up sound or reflect it. So maybe try covering certain things up that are behind you or around you, on the floor, at the angle. Change your angles a little bit. Try a different stand. So my speakers, I have a couple different speaker stands because a couple of the different speakers, even if I use them on the same level, same tilt, some of them will roast my ears, the Sonys. And then others will sound very boomy because of the way the woofer's faced and the tweeter. So moving a speaker very, very smallly will make a massive difference. Plus, just moving a picture or closing a curtain off, putting a rug on the floor, anything of that sort can make a difference. So, just try weird things. Even if it seems totally oddball, strange in your head, try it and see if it works. It's bizarre. I've noticed it here at my desk because my cat, while I'm sleeping, will walk on my desk at times, and they've bumped my speaker. And you look at your desk and you don't even realize that it moved slightly, but you sit down and you start listening, and you notice it. So seriously, just try moving little things, and you might be surprised at the difference it makes. Maybe try tilting it slightly differently. Don't go quite as extreme of an angle. Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm no Paul McGowan. I'm not a speaker guru, but those are some of the things I've learned. Yeah. Contra continues. Any ideas? I know room treatments and speaker placement, etc., is a huge topic. I'm just a novice when it comes to this kind of thing, and feel I'm not serving these speakers well with this setup. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I would just try it, just tweak it. Speakers are very, very finicky, picky, unique, and fun all at the same time. So just try moving things subtly. You might be surprised. Do I have a current top 5 for what? Which one, Fred? And then Hartway, about the individual songs. In practice, I agree that rarely the listed songs are discussed in depth. That is useful, but ideally, I like the approach when talking one-on-one often goes that way. Yeah, absolutely. One-on-one, I have no problem with that. And I mentioned that before. I went to audio show with a friend, and we discussed, different songs as we were listening to gear walking around. Totally understand. In fact, a lot of the rooms you got to choose like what song you wanted to hear. I love doing one-on-one. And it's because you can listen to it, and normally if your friends with you, you guys kind of have a similar taste in music, kind of, sort of, and you probably are kind of somewhat familiar with that music itself. What I have found is, in a lot of reviews, I've never even heard of it. I mean, it's so obscure, and there's even some genres of music that this is such and such a type of genre, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Never even heard of it. Top 5 IEMs. Okay, so top 5 IEMs. I think I got asked this last week. Well, I'll actually show them to you. So number 1 would be, fell off, the Westone Mach 60. Now, this isn't in any particular order. This is just my 5 that I'm using. Next one would be the Thea Audio Oracle Mark III. Another one would be the Tanzu Neza. And let's see here. Another one. We'll throw this one in here for now because I've been loving it. Is the Tantrum Origin. And then number 5 would probably be the Soft Ears Studio 4. You could also go with the Fat Freak Reference Pro. And there's many others. All right. Budget wise, I could go cheaper than that if you wanted. But those would be probably just off the top of my head. The ones that are sitting on my desk at the moment. Studio and Reference Pro are out on loan right now though. So, all right. Hardway, IEMs are value and usability, especially with TWS, but headphones for me are just better experience most of the time. Metal is challenging for headphones though. Depends. Actually, I've heard a couple good headphones for metal. True wireless, I could care less about. Even Bluetooth headphone, I really don't use very often. But it kind of depends with metal. With headphones, a closed back for me is better for metal. I actually really enjoy the Odyssey LCD 2 closed for metal. But I'm not a true metalhead, so that could play a part in it. Yes, Lori, that's a good point. Lori mentions about don't forget to check how far the speakers are from the rear wall. Absolutely. And the other interesting thing is, especially if you're in a near field thing, they're extremely sensitive to it. Some of them really, really matter, and then others don't. And like, it is bizarre with near field bookshelf speaker, how far away they are from the wall. All right, let's see. Control. Okay, I will try these suggestions. My room definitely isn't ideal, but it's all I have to work with. Thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, and it is. It can be very difficult to get the the optimal type of room depending on your house or living situation. But as long as you can get it to be listenable and enjoyable for you, that's all that matters. You're very welcome, Fred. It's like, it's interesting with speakers too, because if your room is closed off, like my room is, just a pretty standard bedroom, but it has this little entryway cut out for the door. And I've noticed as I've been listening, if I listen to speakers, if I have them on this wall over here and reflecting, I get this weird echo where it goes into that little entry and then kind of comes back at me. So I have to have my speakers facing this, this way, facing this way, which doesn't make sense in this room the way it's set up, but it doesn't have that weirdness. If I put them on that wall over there, it sounds very similar as well. But putting them on this wall over here or this wall over on to my other side, they sound very strange. If you were to have to keep either the ISN Neo 5 or the Timeless 2, which one would it be? That's a good question. Honestly, I'd probably keep the Neo 5. I mean, I love the Timeless 2, and I think it's a fantastic planar, and it does a lot of good stuff. But the Neo 5 is just more neutral and more natural to me, and it kind of fits my personal preference for sound. So I'd probably pick the Neo 5 over it. But I really do. I like Timeless too, also, and it is different than the Neo. So they're two different ones. They complement each other well if you only had those two. But if I were to pick only one, I'd probably go Neo 5, which also is out on loan right now. All right, so wasn't planning on doing an hour and 45-minute live stream, but we haven't done one in a long time. My wife is probably sleeping out in the living room, trying to watch TV. So I'm going to we'll make this an official 2-hour live stream, and so we got about 15 minutes left to answer your questions, comments, and concerns. Good conversation today. We've talked speaker placement and how to fix reflections and noise in your speakers. We've talked about top 5 IEMs. We've talked about review process, all kinds of stuff. So good stuff. Let's keep it going for the next 15 minutes. Oh, so interesting. I'm probably not going to do a full review of it. In fact, I'll just talk about it right now. Has anybody seen these? The Acu clips. So Oppo sent these over, and they asked if I would do a short thought process. This is not the official thought process on the Acu clip. This is just a quick introduction to them. So glasses wearers. Excuse me. All right, so if you wear glasses, you have these little slip things. They're kind of foam and spongy, and they have Velcro. And you're supposed to take your glasses off and slip them on to your edge here. Make it nice and snug. Put them on, make sure they're straight, right? Pop your glasses back on, and it feels extremely weird. I'm just going to flat out tell you. It feels very weird. And then you take your glasses. So, for example, we have the Sennheiser 280 Pros here, which have quite the clamp force of a headphone. So you take your 280s, and you pop them on your head. And it's supposed to help with comfort for a clamp, and it's also supposed to help give you a better seal. I have a problem with them, though. For one, they feel extremely weird. I'm very sensitive to stuff on my ears. I cannot stand weird things on my glasses. Right? I like my glasses to be thin. I've been wearing glasses since I was 5 years old, and it just feels awkward. And then when you put your headphones on, it presses on that little tab like right here and just adds to the weird feeling. And it doesn't seal well. I actually end up with a worse seal. So maybe I'm doing this wrong. I have to try these out some more. And if you move them, like you can move them to any position, they just feel awkward. And I don't call things snake oil very often. But my first impression of Acu clips is they're snake oil. These are something that somebody came up with an idea with that worked for them. And so they were like, I'm going to make some money off of it and I'm going to sell them. And yeah. Anyways, I'm going to do some more use of them, try them out. But my first impression is snake oil. Don't buy them. It's a waste of money. Thanks, Outpost, for sending them over. But anyways. Okay. Interesting question from Fred. If you have an IEM that's defective after less than a year, let's say the prongs will not stay in the IEM, which happens quite a bit. Do you think the manufacturer should attempt to fix it? I mean, these manufacturers and vendors have warranty policies for a reason. Um, I've had this happen. I actually had this happen on an expensive IEM, one of the Empire ear head IEMs that I owned. The actual connection for the 2-pin slipped inside the shell, and it was quite a while since I had owned them. I reached out to Empire Ears, and they were willing to fix it, but they said they couldn't because they didn't have those parts anymore, and they weren't able to repair it because of that. Okay. As far as should they try to do it, sure, they should try it. If it's within their policy, though, I mean, I totally get why they wouldn't. I've also had amplifiers where the power button wore out, and actually it was pushing inside the casing because it wasn't, like really well built of an amp. I sent it off to a manufacturer. They tried to fix it. They couldn't, or a manufacturer repair company that was recommended by the company. And they did several repairs on it, but it eventually just wasn't, it just was a switch that was going to fail no matter what over time. So, excuse me. I also work for customer service. I work for a very large company, service company. Warranty policies are in place for a reason, to protect both the company, the repair company, the manufacturers, and the customer. So yeah, if it's within their policy, sure. I mean, that's a tough one. I wish that they would just go, yep, it's broken, let me fix it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of other things that go on into that. So that's a tough question for me to answer. Ventura Gaming will be an upgrade in detail and resolution, going from the X60, which is a closed back, to the full cowl clear, which is an open back, or some other dynamic in that price range. You're welcome, Fred. All right, so clear. I haven't heard of clear in a long time. Honestly, I don't recall the clear good enough. I did a review of it, I think 2 or 3 years ago. But I haven't really heard one since. The X60 is pretty detailed, pretty resolving for a monitor. I don't know if I would use the clear in the same setting because it's open back. And you'll get some bleeding if that would be a problem for whatever setting you're using it in. But I honestly don't recall how much detail and resolution the clear has. I remember it was pretty good, but I don't remember it compared to the X60. Sorry. Honest Dave, you rock for taking time out of your day today. Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my fun. I enjoy this. I really do enjoy connecting with you all and just talking, answering questions, giving thoughts and opinions. And, it's, this is what the audio community is all about, is just getting together, sharing experiences, talking things out, hearing each other's opinions. If you agree or disagree, cool. There's no reason to get mad or upset if people disagree. It's just an opinion, and I'm not trying to force you to do it my way. And I'm not even going to say my way is the best way, because someone else could do it better, and a lot of people do. So, but I just enjoy talking to you guys. So you're all welcome. I just want you all to understand me and know where I'm coming from and why and what I do, and why I do it and how I do it. Because the more you understand me and my processes, my thinkings, my preferences, and all that, you're going to understand a product better. At least that's the way I process it up here. Are you familiar with the used market on HeadFi? I've purchased a couple things off of there, tried selling a few things. I don't really use it often, but yeah, I am familiar with it. There's some pretty good deals on there. You have to kind of read reviews of the sellers, understand, and also pay attention to where they're shipping from. And some guys are more willing to banter than others. So yeah, it's like any used market. You just have to be careful. Make sure you're getting a good deal. Any last thoughts? Questions, comments, concerns? Fred, you're welcome for the advice. There's advice is free, so take it or leave it. I don't charge for advice. I would love to be able to at some point, and it's been a pipe dream of mine for several years, to set up like a get together with all my viewers, and shake all your hands and really get to hear your experiences and share them together and bring a bunch of gear and listen. I think it would really be really fun, but I don't have the brain power to be able to set something up like that. But I think it would be fun to do at some point. Plus, Indiana's a great state to visit, so you all would enjoy it here. Yes, the logistics definitely would be challenging, for sure. I've done a few of the locals. I did one in St. Louis. I did one up in Detroit. I did one somewhere else. I can't remember where the other one was. I mean, and they're very fun. But yeah, they definitely take some time. Just going also setting everybody up, make sure everybody has a place to this sleep or able to drive, and you have a place big enough to house everybody and meet up and have the electrical capabilities, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into it. But you gotta make sure you have some gear there and all that kind of stuff. It'd be fun to do. And maybe live stream it so everybody else could see us all milling around, talking, chatting, have some sessions or something. I don't know. As I said, there's a big pipe dream going on. So, all right. Well, anyways, I do appreciate everybody swinging by today. A good crowd, nice questions. If you happen to rewatch this or think about something, drop a comment down below and talk about the review processes and whether or not you think other reviewers should reveal their review processes, or if you know about other ones that have, or what you think should be the process, why, and all that kind of stuff. Feel free to mention it. I'm very curious as to all your thoughts on that. If you have any other questions about audio, drop those too. As far as everything else, it's been fun and engaging, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Don't forget to check out all the links down below, all kinds of information down there. And if you want, you join my Discord server. It's open to the public. Just check out the links and hit me up there, or follow me on was it X and Twitter, aka Twitter, Instagram, and various other places. Send me messages there and shoot me an email. Anyway, contact me if you have questions, comments, concerns, and we'll gladly chat it up. So I appreciate everybody showing up today. Next week we'll do another review, and upcoming during next week, probably Wednesday, will be a review of the Fosse Audio K7 gaming DAC amp, and maybe compare that to the Creative G8 and something else. Who knows? We'll see. I haven't made up that decision yet. But anyways, I appreciate everybody coming by. Check out all the links down below. Don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy. And I'll talk.